joint workshop between the Board of Selectmen and the Warrant and Finance to hear from the charities that have requested funding this year. First one is the
Wakefield Watershed Alliance.
right, but it says here that you're also including Jellia and Horn Pond?
I am.
Okay. All right, you want to come up here?
Where do I have to be up there?
Yeah, because they can't hear you on the tape unless you use the microphone.
Well, thank you for having me once again, and I'm Linda Shire. I'm the director of the Acton Wakefield Watersheds Alliance, if any of you don't know that. Our work is to protect the water quality in the lakes, rivers, ponds, and streams of Wakefield, New Hampshire, and the border region of Acton, Maine. We've been, we started in 2005, and we've been working on grant-funded projects along with additional support from the towns, private foundations, individuals, businesses, anybody we can beg to, basically. And so we're here today to ask for level funding from you again for $5,000. We are starting our third watershed our fourth grant with the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, fourth two-year grant. First one paid for 2 years of our Youth Conservation Corps. The second partially paid for. In the second 2 years, we did our Salmon Falls Headwater Lakes Watershed Management Plan. The next 2 years, we did phase one of the implementation of that plan. And on one of your sheets here, and I'll just go over it a little bit, we have activities scheduled for 2012 and what we did in 2011. And then we were just funded again for phase two of the New Hampshire part of our implementation plan, and the first time through Maine DEP. And our Maine DEP grant is going to fund the consulting work of the York County Soil, Water, and Conservation District and the materials for fixing chronic road issues on Langley Shores, Eagle Road, and Hawk Road. We're partnering with the road associations on that, so you know, they have to match the funding on that. And we're really excited to get those done because those have been some really serious chronic problems that are dumping sediment into Wilson and Great East Lakes. And at the same time, we're working with the town of Wakefield and the UNH Stormwater Center over on Lovell Lake to address a town gravel road that has issues. We're bringing our YCC, our Youth Conservation Corps, back again. To date, in the 6 years that we've been doing it, the kids have installed 354 erosion control measures on 103 properties, preventing 157 tons of sediment from getting into our lakes. And, you know, the thing about that, and I know you guys are very familiar with the Acton Shapley group, so you don't need me to go over it again, but, you know, it's just a terrific way to get young people involved. It's jobs for local youth. They get paid. They learn good job skills. They really develop a sense of accomplishment. So we're eager to have that back. And we still have a number of properties that we found in the watershed surveys that haven't been fixed yet, and we still have active interest in that, so we've got a list of projects to go. Along with our road projects, we'll also be doing septic and road socials to educate people about proper road maintenance and proper septic maintenance. We've got another grant, private foundation grant, to enhance our school programs. So we're now working in the Acton Elementary School in the 5th through the 8th grades, working with the teachers there, doing, we have different modules of looking at biodiversity, invasive species, groundwater monitoring, and watershed science. So this year, the Acton 8th grade is actually going to be installing a erosion control measure on the school grounds with Dave Cody. And it's really, he's great, and it's really exciting. So we're thrilled to be in there. You know, we walk in now and the kids are like, oh, we know you're the watershed people. A lot of times we bring live bugs with us, so they really like that too. We're also working as a resource for the town boards, both in Acton and Wakefield, helping bring resources to the planning boards to help them learn more about different ways to manage stormwater and actions that they can take to protect us long term, because, you know, as we know, development is coming. Development needs to happen for our economic stability, but there are right ways and wrong ways, so we're hoping to help bring resources to do that. We offer discovery cruises where we actually have our staff and volunteers take people out on pontoon boats and show them how water quality sampling is done. We do a plankton tow and show them the diversity of plankton species in little microscopes, and then do an invasive plant, aquatic plant identification. Fortunately, we haven't had to do invasive ones yet. And we're also working with the UNH Outdoor Ed Department to have a certified guide offer paddles for teens on the upper reach of the Salmon Falls River this summer, and also family paddles on the lakes to, sort of, the whole focus is to connect people with the resource so that they develop their own sense of stewardship about it. I think we all really understand that in this region in particular, having it all be regulatory and you have to do it is not the right approach. It's getting people to understand why certain practices are the best practices and have them adopt them willingly. We are also developing a seasonal resident info packet so that we can get to the people who, don't hear us all winter long, but just helpful information about healthy lake practices. And that includes our phosphorus footprint campaign, where we have people pledge to do certain actions like pick up your dog poop, use no phosphorus fertilizer, check your septic system, list of things, and then they pledge to do those. And that's called our phosphorus footprint campaign. And we are also, this year, on June 23rd in Wakefield, we're going to test drive a shoreland regulation workshop. I don't know about you, if you know, in New Hampshire, they've had some major changes to the shoreline protection law. And so we're having a workshop. We're inviting all the lake associations and the people from DES and then different contractors, so people can say, I want to tear down my house. What do I have to do? What are the regulations? What kind of permits do I need? And then what are the best practices to do that? It will best protect water quality, or replace a retaining wall, or lawn care. So we're going to do that on June 23rd, and depending how that goes, tweak it or not, and then do another one over here sometime later in the summer.
You might want to get in touch with Mike from the cable and have them film that.
Oh.
And then we can broadcast it on the cable TV. Anytime you're doing any kind of event like that, just get in touch with Mike, and we can send one of our camera people out and film it,
great.
and then broadcast it to the town.
Wonderful, good to know. So basically, that's what we're asking for support for, and as you know, the grants that we get all require matching funds, so, the $5,000 from Acton is about 3% of our total budget, and we have increased our fundraising from local donations every year. We've gone up 53% more donors this year and 46% more dollars, so the checks that are coming in are bigger, which is nice to see. Most of our funding, around 50%, will be coming from DES and DEP, and the budget is a little fuzzy because the way the grant works is you get paid when you do the work, and so the timeline of what happens exactly when, depending on weather, may be. But over the 2 years, this is how it'll all work out. One of the reasons we're so successful at getting our grants is because we have such strong local support, and the fact that Acton supports us every year and Wakefield supports us every year is really an essential piece of, when they look to spend these federal dollars, they want to know that the local people are behind it. And if you look at our budget, you see that we have a cash reserve. It's about $28,000, which we need to have because of the way the grant funding works to keep our cash flow going. We need to have some money in the bank or we can't make payroll. Our message, which I've said many times to you guys before, is the lakes are the industry here. They are the local industry. They are the drivers of your property tax values. They're the drivers of the tourism that comes to these regions. And clean water means stable property values. If your water quality declines, then your property values decline, and then your economic engine slows right down. So, I guess that's basically my spiel about that. I don't know how much questions you want to ask, any more explanation about things we've done or are going to do?
I have a question. Did you want, on the town floor in the warrant, did you want the total package of money that you're requesting to be underneath AWA, or did you want it broken out?
That can go either way.
Well, that is entirely your...
Okay. I mean, I'm happy to have it come to me and then I disperse it to the lake associations if that's easier for the town. I know last year there was some discussion about the town giving money directly to the lake associations, and so that's why I talked to the lake associations and said, would you like me to act on your behalf? And that's where we were at with that. So, in that case, what that means is we are asking for $8,000 if you put the two things together.
Underneath AWA.
Right. But just knowing that the 2,000 for Great East and the 1,000 for Horn Pond will go directly to support their lake associations, that will come in and go
So you're
out.
going to actually give them the 2,000?
Right.
All right, so I think we've already got a line item for Great East Lake Association, but I didn't see one for Horn Pond.
I didn't
No,
either.
because this is a new program.
So that would have to be a new request then from Horn Pond, and then the town can vote on that, because yours has already been in there for several years, and Great East just got their first one last year, so we already have a line item for them. They got
Okay.
2,000, they asked for 2,000 last year and got it. And so they would have to put in a request and come in and present to these two committees. We got one more night next Thursday.
They are in Florida.
They're in Florida?
They are a she. I mean,
Well, I think that Linda is here requesting.
Right,
because she does work with Great East Lake.
yeah, I mean, I'm the one that wrote their grant. I mean,
Oh, okay.
it's that they are a separate 501c3.
Okay.
Can you speak to some of the background of
Yes.
what they're going to be doing with that money?
I-
And certainly, I would think that for transparency on town floor, having the three line items makes by far the most sense.
Yeah.
Especially in terms of, gee, how much did we give last year to, you know, 5,000, now we're doing 8,000, and how to explain that.
But at
So-
some point, though, AWA is going to want to decide if they want to continue doing it that, we discussed this last year, that just like the Acton Shapley Youth Conservation Corps, they don't break it out based, like, we vote on one $22,000 line for Acton Shapley Youth Conservation Corps, and that's benefiting Mousom Lake, it's benefiting Square Pond.
Well, because
and-
they do it differently. Their Youth Conservation Corps also does their CBI program. So they have one staff that does all of those. These lake associations were doing, well, Great East was doing its program before AWA even started. And that's, it's a real piece of their identity. And so, when last year you were reluctant to give it directly to Julia and asked us, I said, I'll go speak to it for you guys, but it's their program. And so what happened, one of the things we did last summer was kicked off our Clean Lakes campaign, where we brought together all the Lake Association presidents and talked about all the different tools for water quality protection. And as a result of that, 3 new lakes, Horn Pond, Pine River Pond, and Province Lake all started these new invasive species programs. And I helped them because I'd been running it on Great East for so long that I said, here's how you do the budget, here's how you do the application, this is how you staff it. And they're actually going to, share staffing with Great East, and, that the kids will be able to move back and forth. But Great East is now staffing 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, weather dependent. So their program is really expensive. And, they have, let me just, where did I write it down? They're requesting $2,000. Their total program costs are $26,000. They're requesting $3,000 from Wakefield. They get $6,500 from a grant from the New Hampshire Lakes Association, which actually comes from a local benefactor. $2,000 from the main CBI program, and then Julia itself puts in about $12,500. So
From their members.
yeah. And, the bottom line with this, that is really sort of an onerous thing on the members, because the members aren't the ones bringing in the milfoil.
Right.
It's the local people that are visiting that are the ones that are bringing it in. The members bring their boat and leave it. So Horn Pond this year will be staffing Friday afternoons, evening, about 3 to 7, and Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays from 8 to 6. And at both of these launches, I feel it's really essential that there are 2 people there, because they are remote. They sort of have history of being places where a lot of partying goes on, and I just think it's not fair to leave one young person. It's just not prudent.
Right.
So they're requesting $1,000 from you. Their total program costs are $82.55. They're asking for $1,000 from Wakefield, $1,000 from New Hampshire, and $1,000 from Maine. So, does that answer enough of the questions about that?
How many,
Does everybody know what the boat inspection program is? Where they greet incoming boaters and inspect the boats for invasive species, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. You said that, does anybody know?
Does everybody know what these programs are? Yeah. Wilson Lake thought about it, but the launch is not suitable for that, and so they're getting very active on a weed watcher patrol program. So, you know, everybody's trying to avoid it, because we got Bellow and Balch right up the street, waiting to dump it, and I think Balch Lake has now spent, I think $800,000 or something, and, I mean,
Wow.
it's
So
just,
prevention is better than
exactly.
remediation.
Exactly. I know that both Balch and Bellow came to the town of Wakefield last year for over $11,000. So, you know, your money is well spent here by supporting those programs.
Are you familiar with Milton Three Ponds at all? Do they have invasive species here? Because the Salmon Falls River,
Yeah.
when I kayak up there, is just loaded.
Yeah, I think that's just normal production. I mean, it's, you know,
It's not washing down into the
no,
Milton area?
no, I think that's bladderwort and coontail, which look a lot like milfoil, but they're just there. But, you know, as these phosphorus levels increase, you get an increase in any kind of production. The milfoil really does well when there's a disturbed area, because it will colonize first and then just take over, and then it outcompetes everything for sun and nutrients and space, and becomes a monoculture. It's nasty stuff. So we're lucky. So I guess, does
Anybody else?
that answer the question?
Anybody else have any questions? We have to move on to our next appointment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For the work you do.
My
So
pleasure.
We'll put them on three separate items, so they'll vote on each one separately, okay?
Now, are you okay, I mean, in future years, for me to come in and speak on behalf of, I mean, I'm actually a member of Gelia,
Sure.
and I'm helping Horn Pond. It's just rather than hearing, for you to have to hear the story multiple times.
Sounds good?
Efficiency is great.
Thank you so much. Okay, our counseling services here? No? York County Shelter? Okay, want to come up?
Downstairs,
5,000.
but they're not, but Linda, they're not meeting this evening, I don't believe. Are they having a special meeting tonight?
Weren't they doing tonight to make up for that one that got
No,
canceled?
yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Joan Sylvester from York County Shelter Programs, and appreciate the opportunity to speak. And you're always very gracious every year. To explain a little bit about why we are asking a little bit more this year from Acton, or perhaps actually what I ought to do is talk a little bit about our programs in case some of you are not familiar. We have 2 shelters in Sanford. There's a single men and single women and children, families and children. We have 2 family shelters in Sanford. The 2 in Alfred are a total of will hold 62 individuals in the 2 shelters, and the 2 Sanford family shelters will hold a total of 37. We also have the largest food pantry in the county, serving all towns. Anyone in need of food can come to the York County Shelter Food Pantry in Alfred and get a box of food. We're open Monday through Friday afternoons, but also open for emergencies or things like that. So actually, you can get food there 24 hours a day if you needed it. I mean, hopefully not everybody would decide to go at midnight, because it would be a little crowded. We don't have quite as many people working at night. Anyway, so getting to what we're asking Acton, you probably are aware from reading the newspaper over the last few months that this year the York County Commissioners, or actually last year, have a totally different philosophy on social service agencies than the prior 18 years. So with that change in philosophy, they informed the social service agencies that they would no longer fund them. Our food pantry, which, as I say, does serve the entire county of York, received $31,000 from the county. They refused again this year when it was brought up by a budget committee member from Kennebunkport. So anyway, what Commissioner Sinden suggested, he's from Elliott, is that we go to all the towns, which we do anyway, but to add on the portion of the food pantry that each town would have be supporting percentage-wise. So, for example, in Acton, your county funding is 1.93% of the total county budget. At least this is what we were given by way of the, at the courthouse when we called the manager. So what we did, and obviously it's totally your decision, but we asked first for the flat funded amount. You've given us $400. I know at least last year, I didn't look back before that. Then, and that was primarily for our housing, for shelter support, bed days, which I do have those figures, for Acton people that have spent in the shelter with the bed days plus the counseling and all the other services. The food pantry would add on $615, which is 1.93% of the 31,000 that the county suggested we go to the different towns for. So what we're asking this year is we're hoping that Acton would consent to give us $1,015, combining the two. Now for bed days, last year we served, I don't know if you all got a copy of this letter, because this is just a copy of what was sent in originally. We served Acton, 7 Acton residents, a total of 1,150 bed days.
Wow.
If you figure $60 a bed day for bed, food, the counseling, the services, all the other things, that totals about $69,000 of service that we gave to Acton people. The food pantry, we gave out 378 food boxes to Acton families for a total of 1,135 units of service. The reason we say units of service is it isn't necessarily the 1,100 people that came, because people tend to come more than once. But it would be food enough for the, what was it I said? 1,135, like feeding 1,135 people one time. Is that too complicated? I'm not always good explaining.
That's great.
We do, the food pantry from the county was 31,000. United Way is 10,000. The rest of it we get through private donations. We get $1.25 million worth of donated food last year, because you never know what you're going to get. And we had to expend beyond the county and United Way over $70,000 to run the food pantry for the rest of the year. We have trucks that go, volunteers that drive our vehicles to Good Shepherd, and we're going to increase, we've applied to increase to 3 times a week. And we do purchase food there, we do food drives, we do fundraisers, all of that. But I don't know if you have any questions, or that's really very, very brief to what I sent in the packet.
You guys got any questions?
There was a fair number of pages that we did get in the package, so.
Yes.
It's pretty impressive.
Hey, we tried to cover everything.
What's interesting to me is, the jump in services needed in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It's just snowballing.
Well, one little interesting point that I didn't mention, over the last 6 months at the food pantry, it has increased 38%. In 6 months, we are now giving out an average of 462 food boxes a week. And right now, the only funding we get would be the $10,000 from United Way And if any of the towns agree, and it is hard, I know, to go in and ask for an increase, because we've been asking for flat funding, and all of a sudden to expect the towns to, well, we don't expect, we're asking if the towns will help us with this.
But something to be very clear about, the town of Acton is of course required to provide food assistance through the general assistance program. Every time that somebody chooses to receive food assistance through someplace like York County Food Pantry, through the shelter program, that is a direct savings to the taxpayers of Acton. So even the $615 increase, that is only maybe 10 people coming in and requesting food assistance through the town of Acton. And so that's a
very good
very
point.
cost-effective way for us to serve the people of Acton.
That's a very good point.
I think this should be split.
Into 2 warrant articles?
Instead of increasing from 4 to 1,015 from 400 for the York County shelter, leave the shelter at 400 and add the York County food bank. So people understand why it's gone up.
Well, are they the same organization?
Yes, it is York County Shelter Food Pantry. It's us. The reason we started a food pantry was somebody came, because Lorraine knows this story, but somebody came to the bakery years and years ago and asked for a loaf of day-old bread. So we started to give out boxes of food. We gave them a fresh loaf food so we averaged about 8 boxes a week. And since I've been here, last year, it was 16,000, I don't remember now, but it's in the packet, which is over 50,000 units of service.
Wow.
And now it's gone up 38% in the last 6 weeks.
And you don't know where that curve's going to go either.
No, we also give out the senior food for seniors that, I know Lorraine is very up on this, but seniors in York County who would qualify. It's done through, it is a USDA program, but it's done through Southern Maine Area on Aging, and they asked us to be the distributor. We're capped right now at 310 seniors that can receive really good food once a month, and we have a waiting list of 100. Now, it does move, but it's just one more example. They can still come to the food pantry. This is an additional program that it's a federal program, and they've just asked us to be the distributor. And thank goodness we have a lot of volunteers, because it's a lot of bookkeeping.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
To jump back, CSI, is anybody from CSI? No? Okay, CSI isn't here. They're asking for $500. They received $1,000 last year. Okay, next, American Red Cross? Nope. Okay, American Red Cross is asking,
Someone else is just coming in.
okay.
You American Red Cross, by any chance?
CSI? Okay, come on in.
You can sit down anyway.
Are you here for social services or for planning board?
I'm here for the Child Abuse Prevention Council, Kids Free to Grow.
Okay, Red Cross is asking for
All of them, is that? Are you Woodford's?
$1,000.
$1,000.
It was 2,000 last.
So they've gone, oh yeah, okay. 2,000 last year, they're asking for 1,000 this year. Child abuse prevention? Okay, you wanna come up, Ben?
Hi, I'm Lori DePaul. I'm the Executive Director for the Child Abuse Prevention Council of York County. We are changing our name to Kids Free to Grow. We find it more friendly. And for programs, we do mandated reporter training for anyone that is a mandated reporter. The list is extensive. It's pretty much anyone that is working with children. So we do mandated reporting. We've done it for Sanford, for Head Starts. We also do, this past year for Sanford, we did the protocol, and it's for all schools within the district. And what that is for is so that when they do make a phone call, if a child discloses to a teacher, or guidance counselor, anyone, the teacher knows what to do and who to call. And then they also, it lets them know what the Department of Health and Human Services is going to do on their end. And so it's a protocol that's been put in place for about 15 to 20 years now, so that they know what each other's responsibilities are. The other thing we do is Sanford does provide the babies for the Baby Think It Over program. We go in and we do a program talking about the protective factors and also the risk factors for preventing child abuse. We talk about what to do if a baby is crying, let them know about Shaken Baby. We do have a demonstration doll that we use for that program. And the other thing that we do is we provide for teachers and ed techs and for any social worker that is needing CEUs. We provide a summer institute. That summer institute is located in Sanford. We did have individuals from Acton that participated last year. We charge for $95 for early bird registration. It is $115. Most people do pay the $95. And it's for 3 CEUs, and it's a very reasonable way of getting 3 CEUs for teachers or ed techs. It's 30 hours, it's 5 days, it's at the end of June, and they learn everything there is to know about child abuse and anything, and they get to ask questions. We do have a student team that also comes in that has been in the foster care system, and they answer questions from the teachers and ed techs, letting them know what the experience was being in foster care and in the school system as well. So it's pretty comprehensive, and it's a program that we offer to the teachers and ed techs and the guardian ad litems as well, and we provide CEUs for them.
And that's in June?
It's in June. It's the last week. We've collaborated with the York County Community Action, and so they provide at no charge for us the conference room upstairs, and that's where we have it. We usually have between 25 and 30 people that attend.
And do you sign up online to take it?
We are working on that. There's registration forms that people can download and send in with their check.
Oh, okay, okay. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Did you have a request last year?
Yes, we did.
Okay,
It's level funding from last year.
okay,
Yes.
all right. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
This is going great.
yeah.
And we're not behind schedule anymore?
We are actually ahead of schedule. Woodford's is due at 7:20, it's 7:03, it's fantastic.
Is Woodford's here? Yes. All right.
I won't give you. I have a copy of our annual report and then our most recent newsletter for you. I am glad that I came early. My name is Carrie Debris. I'm the Development Director for Woodford's Family Services. Woodford's is based in, our headquarters is in Westbrook, and we work throughout the state with children and adults who have developmental disabilities and their families. All told, we work with about 1,000 families throughout the state, most of which are here in York and Cumberland counties. Woodford's works with some of the most vulnerable individuals in our communities. These are folks who have intellectual disabilities, developmental disabilities, and therefore, are at a distinct disadvantage in trying to navigate everyday life skills that I think sometimes we can take for granted. We all know that raising children is hard. I have a 1-year-old. I'm finding that out very quickly. But raising a child with special needs is even harder. And so to be able to navigate the service delivery system here in the state and access services that are appropriate can be very difficult. And that's really what Woodford's does. We operate 6 or 7 different programs across the board for children as young as a few weeks old to senior citizens. But really what we do in a nutshell is try to help individuals have the highest quality of life possible and to achieve their dreams and their goals just like we all want to. We focus a lot on community inclusion, so being able to be a part of your community and take part in your community in the way that you want to be taking part in it. And that can be a real challenge for individuals who have special needs and their families. Currently, right now, we're serving 5 clients and their families in Acton, so all told about 20 people. That number fluctuates based on, the the year and just the need for services. It's been higher at times, it's been lower at times. The reason that we've requested $500 this year is because we use a formula to make requests to towns, and that is looking at the point in time when we make the request, how many individuals are we serving, multiplied by $100. And we do it that way. I think it drives some towns crazy because our requests change year to year, but it makes a lot of sense to other folks. We do it to try to be fair across the board to what we ask towns to contribute. You know, there are some towns where we have 50 to 100 clients, and some towns where we have obviously fewer. And so we want to be respectful of that. And so that's the way that we've used to kind of gauge how much we request from towns. Our budgets are extremely, extremely tight, and I imagine that yours is also, and so I really appreciate the level of, you know, scrutiny you give these applications and the level of thought that you put into, you know, not only the Woodford's request, but others. You know, Woodford's is it's a great agency in that, like I said, we are really trying to help individuals improve, you know, their quality of life. And I think when, you know, if you think about all the things you do during the week, you know, we're trying to help individuals with special needs do those exact same things. Get a job, go to school, have, you know, some entertainment on the weekends, go out with their friends. Things that are new at Woodford's, we have a Club 21 social program that we started in the last year. We run it in Saco. We have a lot of clients from York County that come, and it's basically a monthly social night for adults with special needs. We know that there are very few low-cost and safe and fun opportunities for adults with special needs after, you know, they kind of exit their teen years. And so we started this program because one of our clients, who is actually a board member who's 27, approached us and said, you know, isn't there something we can do for adults? What about folks who are 21 and over, and, you know, what can we do for a program? And so we really listened to him and have developed this program, and it's growing and growing, and we have an average attendance of 40 adults every month. And so, and that's in addition to our typical programs that we offer that I know we've talked to you about in the past, such as our case management program, you know, which basically helps families access services, our respite program, which is basically a temporary, it's basically planned babysitting for children who have special needs, letting mom and dad go out and get to the store, go to an appointment, you know, get a manicure, take a half an hour off, something, you know, to recharge their batteries, which we know helps families stay together. Our in-home support program, which works one-on-one with children in their home on daily life skills, whether that's, you know, personal hygiene or, you know, getting the chores done, working on their homework, and also teaching mom and dad some skills to help the child in the home as well. We have a residential program where we work with about 35 adults and, you know, give them a safe place to live in the community that they want to live in. And then we also do a therapeutic foster program, which is exactly like foster care, but for children with either severe medical needs, mental health issues, or developmental disabilities. So we really run the gamut, but again, it's all about that quality of life piece and allowing, you know, individuals to be who they want to be in our communities. So I'd be happy to take any questions if you have any.
I don't. That was a rather compelling story, I gotta say.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's a great organization to work for. I've been with Woodford's 4 years, and, you know, meeting our clients and seeing what they're able to achieve with just a little bit of support is really unbelievable. And I will say that you'll see it in the newsletter, but our website is woodfords.org, and right on the homepage we just created a 5-minute video about our clients, and it's really wonderful. And so if you have 5 minutes, I would encourage you to take a look at it. So.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. What is it? York County? You're next?
I get 30 minutes now.
Nope.
Maybe 20.
All right, I have, just right, you may already have a copy of that. Thank you. Once again, for giving me the opportunity to meet with you again tonight. I come each year, I submit my requests, I tell you a little bit about our organization. I appreciate very much everything you've done for us in the past. York County Community Action, as you know, is the community action agency that covers all of the the residents in York County, beginning in Kittery and York and ending in Scarborough. It's about 25,000 households we serve each year through 7 main programs that include WIC and Head Start, housing and transportation, community outreach, energy services, and healthcare. I'll very briefly describe each of those programs for you, and again, very briefly, because I know that time is, we're keeping a watch on the clock this time. The Head Start program is an early childhood education program. It's been around for 46 years. It was a program that was founded through the Economic Opportunity Act of 1964. It was one of the first programs we had. Head Start is an early childhood education. It's not a daycare. A lot of people think of it in those terms, but really what we're doing is taking children from the age of 1 to the age of 5 and helping them prepare for kindergarten. So we're teaching them how to interact with other children. We're teaching them educational skills, learning, reading, writing, words, association, colors. We also give them a nutritious meal, a breakfast or a snack and a lunch each day, and it gives the parents a place to leave their children where they know they're going to be safe and they're going to be secure. It's all non-competitive games and interactions. The WIC program, Women, Infants, and Children, we have about 4,000 WIC clients now. WIC works with prenatal mothers and children up to the age of 5. We provide food vouchers for nutritious foods like milk and vegetables, juices. We also encourage and support breastfeeding. We provide breastfeeding support and pumps. And we also provide reading materials, educational materials. We were associated with the RIF program for a very long time. Now we have a different literacy program that we work with. The housing program, I'm going to speak a little bit about this at the very end of my presentation because I'm going to talk about foreclosures. But that's what the housing program is addressing very severely right now. 1 in 5 mortgage holders in York County, in the state of Maine for that matter, is either in default, at risk of foreclosure, or in foreclosure. So the foreclosure crisis that we're facing is only going to get larger. We have 2 full-time foreclosure prevention specialists on board, and we also have a foreclosure prevention counselor, or a housing counselor who works with homeownership education classes, works with housing counseling, pre and post purchasing, and prepares a person to buy a house if he'd like to, or a family, or cautions them about getting into that kind of scenario when they really can't afford it. Energy assistance. When I talk about energy assistance, I'm talking about LIHEAP essentially, although our energy program is larger than that. Low-income home energy assistance program. It's been in the news a lot this past year because the funding was cut dramatically, almost by half. Last year, I think we had about 7,000 applicants. This year we'll have just about the same, but a third of those won't have been eligible for assistance because of the eligibility guidelines that were changed. And those who did get assistance got a much lower benefit than they had gotten before. We had a good winter, and when you think about the temperature, we didn't get snow every day. We didn't have below 0 temperatures, I don't think ever once. So we did pretty well there, but people still get cold. 30 degrees is still cold when you don't have any heat. Our outreach program, outreach connects people in need with resources that are available. So if we have a client who comes in and needs assistance for food, we may direct them to a pantry, or needs shelter, we may move them towards York County Shelter, or we may work with the churches, or we may work with the business community. What we have is essentially social workers who know all of the little safety nets throughout the county, and they work with people who have problems that you could not imagine. Single mothers who come in and say, I was thrown out of my house, and if I go back, I'll get beat up. I don't know what to do. Or a mother with 2 children who said, I can't feed my family because I don't have any food. Or, the scenarios are huge, and they're always compelling, and they're always the kinds of problems that you would never think you would have, and they never thought they would have those problems either. It could be anything from my car broke down, I can't get to work. And if I don't get to work, I'll lose my job. And if I lose my job, I'm going to lose my home. So maybe we can help you get your car fixed. Healthcare, York County Community Healthcare. When I've spoken about our healthcare program in the past, I've talked about a federally qualified healthcare center. And what I've said is that our healthcare program was designed to assist homeless individuals and those who are living in subsidized housing. Our target is still that, but we have opened our eligibility to every person in York County. So we now take everybody, whether you are homeless or whether you have insurance, commercial insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, we will take you. We have a modern medical center in Sanford. We serve that constituent that I've already described, the homeless and those who live in subsidized housing, but also a much larger body now. And you will see in coming weeks and in the coming months a lot of advertising for that, because we are trying to get as many clients as we can possibly get, because we know the need is there. I mean, we have a new dentist, we have a doctor, a pediatrician, we have licensed clinical social workers, we have a nurse practitioner. So we are fully staffed. We just need to let everybody know that they can come to us. We have a sliding scale for people who have no insurance at all, a reduced fee. Transportation, our largest program. Whenever I talk about York County Community Action, very often I'll say, you're the blue bus guys, the blue and white bus. I say, yeah, we are, but we're also the WAVE and volunteer drivers, and we're also the Shoreline Explorer, and we have the reimbursement program for those people who need to get their medical appointments and are eligible for reimbursement for their mileage. So the transportation program covers literally the entire county and more. We will have volunteer drivers who will take people to Bangor if they need to get there for a medical appointment, or down to Brigham and Women's Hospital in Boston, because we have that ability, and we're pretty well established as a transportation program. So those are the 7 programs, and what I'd like to say is that things haven't changed a lot in the past year, but what changes have occurred have not been for the good or for the better. What we're seeing now is, as I said earlier, a greater number of families who are at risk of foreclosure, who are in foreclosure, than we saw last year. And interestingly, what's happened is the foreclosure process kind of stopped for a while. That is, the banks stopped processing foreclosures because there was a lot of litigation going on. But that's over now. And so now the foreclosure thing is going to pick up. There are going to be more and more foreclosures hitting the courts. The other thing that I've noticed in the past 12 months is that we're seeing more families who were middle income coming to us for assistance and coming to us for help. And I saw this a year ago as well, but now the numbers are middle income families who are saying, I've been looking for work for a year, or I've been looking for work for a year and a half, or for 2 years. Now, what we know is that the economy is getting better. It really is. But you can't tell that by some of our clients. I mean, we're still working with them to help them find their way out of poverty, but they're still struggling. And there's still a deficit of job opportunities for those who are looking. Many more people who have lower skill levels are losing their jobs. Many more elderly people are losing their jobs. The example that I think about when I think about ways to describe this was when Lowe's closed in Biddeford last year overnight. And the employees didn't know. They really didn't. And I'm not being critical of Lowe's. What I'm trying to say is that there were people who went to work Saturday and felt that everything was fine, and Sunday found out they didn't have jobs, and they didn't know what to do. And some of these people have been there for 30 years, had been working for Lowe's for 30 years. So we're finding that happening more and more. People who have been working for 20 or 30 years for the same company, unemployed. And, you know, I'm 56 years old, and I kind of think, what would I do? I mean, I've got some credentials, but I'd still not know really what to do. It would still frighten me, and I would still have to think hard about where I was in my life and how I would get by. So my end note is thank you. Thank you for what you've done for us in the past, and we're very appreciative, and we appreciate anything you'll do for us in the future. I'd answer any questions that you might have.
My question is, roughly what percentage of Acton households served, I mean, what percentage of
I'm sorry, I've got that number, yep.
client base is Acton?
322 families were served, and Acton families were served last year. Again, roughly, we serve about 25,000 households. I call them households because a person represents a household. About 25,000 households countywide. 322 were in Acton. Interestingly, the year before, it was about 10 more. Those numbers don't really, well, the numbers look as though we did 10 fewer, but really what we had were fewer riders this past year on our buses than we had the year before, and our volunteer drivers. I think it was 53 last year and 23 or 33 this year, something like that. It was, it was 28 fewer riders this year than last year. So it doesn't really mean we did less. We just had fewer passengers in our buses.
If you have 28 fewer riders, but you only have 10 fewer people served, that means you have 18 people that instead of needing rides are now needing LIHEAP or outreach.
Well, that's true. What I would note is the dollar value of the services that were provided last year.
Absolutely.
In 2011, it was $353,301. In 2010, it was $330,000. So again, we had more Head Start, more community outreach, more housing, but in transportation, maybe the numbers were a little bit less.
Did York County cut your budget too? What they give you?
The municipal budget really affects the transportation program, and yes, it does, very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Why don't I run and see if Mary's in the library? We have her come in and then see if the other two show up. Okay, Busy Workers 4-H Club.
I'm going to step aside from my current role and put on a different hat. Hi, I'm Larissa Crockett. I'm one of the proud parents of two 4-H members. Busy Workers 4-H are the fine children that bring you a Christmas celebration every year here at the Town Hall that is open to all Acton Town residents. The fire department or the rescue have some sort of intimate familiarity with Santa Claus and managed to secure him to come and be part of that celebration each year on the first Saturday in December. Busy Workers 4-H also does a yearly cleanup here at the Town Hall in the spring. They very often plant flowers, and in the fall they do cleanup. They rake leaves. This fall they spent a goodly number of hours cleaning out these gutters underneath to make sure that that work that was done is actually effectual. They also are very active at the Acton Town Fair, Acton County Fair, the York County Fair in Acton, rather, sorry, the Acton Fair. You'll see the kids there doing demonstrations as well as staffing booths, etc. And it's a long-standing community group. The Busy Workers 4-H has been in this community for many years. We are also the people that bring you delightful treats to eat during town meeting. So we're asking for $150 this year. It helps to cover some of our costs associated with things like the Christmas party that we do here at the Town Hall. And we always are thankful for the support of Acton, and we would love to have it again this year. Any questions?
Last year, it was $500, but that was for a special trip.
Last year, we asked for $500. We wanted to do some camp tuition assistance for our 4-H kid members. There are some really great 4-H camps here in the state of Maine. Bryant Pond has one. Tanglewood up in Lincolnville has another camp. And we did end up sending, I want to say, 7 of our kids to camp. And any child in the 4-H club that wanted to go to camp, the club paid 50% of the
camp fee for that child to go to camp. So we were able to send 7 kids, I think it was, to either day camps or to overnight camps. It was a great experience, and the club as a whole did a lot of fundraising through bake sales and other activities to help cover the rest of that cost. This year, we are not looking to do the same, and so it has gone back down to the $150 that it has been in the past. Any other questions?
I love lucid explanations. Thank you very much.
I try to be lucid when possible, Paul.
I don't expect it, but
For me particularly, Paul, or for just in general? That's love right there, guys. I'm going to take that as a no more questions, and thank you.
All right, Mary, you're up. Thank you for coming in early.
Mary Waterhouse, Director of the Acton Public Library, and this is Elise Miller. She is our bookkeeper and treasurer. And she made up this budget and presentation for you, so if you have questions, you can direct it at both of us. Go ahead.
The only thing I want to say ahead of time is under technology, the overdrive, Mary was able to find free services through Portland Library, so that $275 on the overdrive line is not needed. However, in the meantime, it was discovered that we should probably have a professional development line where she had to use her own money, or we're trying to reimburse her for gas mileage to get to Portland for the free training. Right? It was free training. So there is expenses that are needed so that she can attend some of these free trainings for programs like that to offer. That's the only thing I'd like to move, if possible. So the overdrive line would be eliminated, but then add a professional development line.
For the same amount?
Yeah, yeah,
Just relabel the line?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and what's the increase for?
Well, we haven't given these guys a raise in 2 or 3 years.
So how
And-
much, how many percent is that?
It's, was that 50 cents an hour?
So is
It
that
ended up being a 3,
3%?
I think it was 3%. So that was a 520 increase. And then there are other things, we now do the Friends of Maine Libraries, which Mary could tell you a little more about, if you'd like to know. And other things just kind of go up.
Yeah.
Insurance.
Cost of living.
Cost of
Yeah.
living. The library world that we added, but we didn't really add it because with the grant that we got, the Stephen King grant, we have to put a $500 line item under technology for that, but we just kind of labeled it this time.
You guys got a Stephen King grant too?
It was quite a few years ago.
Oh, okay, because the fire and ambulance just got $50,000.
Oh my gosh,
Wow.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
He's our hero today.
Yes.
Wow,
It's
that's
an
great.
amazing organization.
So we've always had 500 under the technology line, but we just kind of broke it out a little bit more.
Yeah, we
to-
want to break down a little bit more and itemize so that you get to see a better idea of exactly what the library's different slotted amounts are for the money that the town votes on to give us. The $395 is technically, it's new, it is technology, it's a grant that the library won to bring us into the automation world, so to speak, for barcodes, for not only patrons, but for our books, and get us, into the Dewey Decimal. But part of the stipulation for the grant was that after a year, we would take over the cost of Library World. It is the cheapest, it's the most inexpensive way to categorize all the materials that we have within the library and put it into a online program so that eventually, when we're able to have our own website, patrons can just go in from their own home computer and be able to see what we have to offer in the library, which is something that we are not able to do at this time, but we are slowly getting there.
do you have a projection of when that might actually happen?
Well,
I mean, you're talking about our lifetimes or?
I'd like to say, yeah. I'd like to say this coming year. It's basically trying to find someone who can build a website for us that will be inexpensive, like possibly nothing.
Well, it doesn't
So-
cost really anything other than, the website provider, I mean,
Right, and that's,
$5 a year or something like that.
and so that's what we've been kind of looking at, is to find someone who could do that and find us, a cost-effective way to be able to find a site where we could attach ourselves and then add more to that. So,
You also have a children's program line that's new this year.
yes. In the past, it's always been, what do we have that we can kind of maybe slim, cut off from one end or another to be able to provide the children with some type of a program. And so I've never been able to plan ahead for a summer program. I've always had to see what we have coming in for either our book and bake sale or the Apple Fest that we might be able to free up funds. So this way, this gives a line so that I can make future arrangements without having to wait until we have actual, sales to figure out what I need for supplies and moving forward with that, not just in the summer, but through the fall too.
Okay. Anybody else?
Signage, did you talk about that, and was I sleeping at the time, or have you not discussed it yet?
Well, it's been brought up many times that people don't know we have a library in Acton. Oh, we have,
Many,
it's,
even
a lot of
recently.
people are not aware that we have a library, so we've actually contacted Dasco to see if they would provide us with some signage, but then I don't know if they responded or not, but we thought maybe they could just add to the existing sign, and it would cost less, but in the meantime, we may not use it, we're looking, we want to be as frugal as possible.
Right,
Well, in the
Most
meantime, we
likely
can
a
put it up on the
donation.
board.
right.
We can
Yeah.
put it up on the board and leave it up there.
Oh, when there's no other announcements needed, that's
Right,
true.
yeah, that would be awesome. And it's not something that we've utilized because there's a lot of other different things that are going on in the town, so normally the sign is very busy and we needed something that would be a constant. But that's wonderful, we'll use that.
Yeah, and I'm sure Mary will get back to you on the sign, because they just did one for us in the front of, the open sign. They just made that for us and donated it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure who's,
We have somebody, one of our Board of Trustees is
Permanent
following up on
sign
that.
with our sign out there, with the hours?
Yeah. Yeah, down below.
Is it, yeah?
Yeah.
are you talking about the one by the road?
Yes.
That's what we were going to talk to them about, was
With
something
Dasco.
that would be aesthetically pleasing, so that way it wouldn't look too overwhelming with the larger sign, that would have our hours on it, yeah.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
It's a good spot out there.
I'd like to sing your praises for a moment. I was actually breakfasting with one of our seniors in town the other day who was commenting on a library volunteer that has been doing book delivery for her. She does not drive, she's quite elderly, and that's a nice service that the library has been providing, and just, that is tax dollars, I feel, well contributed towards the library, knowing that our housebound seniors are still having books brought to them and brought back to the library for them, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's definitely something that's offered to, all the community, and it's just a matter of calling the library and letting us know, in interested areas of reading and, what font they would like it in, and we can definitely accommodate for them.
Fantastic.
Like a
That's our
bookmobile.
education.
Well,
The
and
seniors are our education here.
Well, and we have, honestly, our population is so senior-heavy.
Yes.
And will just continue to become more so. There's also a lovely selection of large print books at this point in the
Yes.
library, and it's a very comforting thing for these people to know that they can get these books brought to them and have, an incoming source of books. It's a nice thing.
Another
How is
thing that
the,
I enjoyed was the books on CDs.
Yes.
I was busy doing something, and to be able to put something like that in and hear it while I was busy doing something else was very nice. And also, how many e-readers do you have now?
We have about 10 signed up right now, but it's a fairly new program that we've been able to offer. It's only been in place for, I want to say, like 2 weeks. So, but it's very exciting, and I'm really, really happy that the Portland Public Library was able to have us, join them and be part of their PAL organization so that we can offer that for our community. And also, with that Portland card, you have the same privileges at the Portland Library that you do here. So you can, whether you're up in Portland or down here, you can, use both libraries.
Can I bring my own Kindle in and get books?
You cannot bring your own Kindle in to get books. You can, off of our Kindle, you cannot. I've done a lot of research on that, and I once thought you could, but I was mistaken. However, with that Portland card, you can go through their website onto the state site and download books that they offer.
Oh, great.
Yep, and then what happens is they'll download the book if they have it in. It's just like taking a book out at the library. And you're given about 3 weeks to read it, and about a week before it's going to disappear, they'll remind you that, your time is soon running out, and then your book will disappear.
Oh, wow.
So,
My husband, Sophia does this with the Kindle, but then my husband actually, he does it with audiobooks. Same thing, we have a Portland Library card, and it's fantastic because he works with his hands and he has his MP3 player on during the day, and he reads, 5 or 6 books a week because of the audio downloads that you can use. So it's been fantastic. We have enjoyed that program very, very much.
I went to a conference last fall where Overdrive was actually there, their CEO, I believe, and their goal is to eventually be able to bring music and movies into their program as well. So signing over Kindle was huge, and that was last fall. And now they can take any device now, and you can download whatever you like.
Now, when you said you had 10 readers, do you mean people or reader devices?
No, we have 2 of the Kindles.
Yeah, last I saw you had 2.
Yes, but we have 10 people who have signed up for the Portland cards, which, once they're activated, they can go in and download onto whatever device they have.
But when you say that the 2 Kindles that you have,
Yes.
you can download books onto,
Yes, you can.
but you cannot do that on your private Kindle.
You cannot come in with your Kindle and take it from our Kindle to your Kindle.
Right.
That's what I meant.
Okay, so you fill the books onto the Kindle?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
But that would or would not potentially be able to happen for somebody to bring in their own Kindle with their library card and load it onto theirs. I know it can't go from one device to the other.
Right.
But could it be downloaded onto their device and save the, the 2 devices that we have for somebody else? In other words, maybe have more than 2 books out at a time on the Kindles.
If
somebody were to bring one in.
If those books were offered on Overdrive, yes. But if they're only offered on our Kindles, then our Kindles would have to be the ones
So these are
taken out.
dedicated to a certain account, and they're kind of
Yes.
bonded in that way. and-
If you go into Amazon and you look over the Kindle devices, you'll see that there are different addresses that are attached to the Kindles. And they're your private addresses, or should I say the library's private addresses. And those cannot be, I can't add private addresses to those devices. It can only be what is property of the library. So that right there was a disappointment. I thought it was possible, but once I did further research, it's not. The only way realistically to be able to download something onto any device is to have that Overdrive or purchase it yourself.
Although it should be pointed out for people that are new with their Kindle, anything that the author died more than 70 years ago is a free Kindle download, provided somebody has
Yes.
put it up. So all of your classics are free.
And there are a lot of books offered on Kindle that are free, or 99 cents. I mean, it's amazing the door that they've opened.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any more questions? All set? Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
So I come to see you to get a Portland card so I can download?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And Ted, that's 4.5% on the salary.
On the raise?
Yeah.
It takes about 10 days for your card to activate, and then you're all set.
I'm just getting ready for the summer, because that's when I do all my reading is in the summertime. And then, yeah, sit by the lake at camp and just read.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
I want to fill the Kindle up before I go up.
You'll have plenty, thousands of books.
That's great.
Thanks, guys. What is the library asking for?
18,291.
A question I had last year, and I guess it's still relevant this year, is there any particular reason other than perhaps long-term convention why the library is not a department in the town and it's a charitable organization? I mean,
Funny you
it
asked
seems a
that,
little.
Paul. So a few months ago, I actually went and spoke to the library about this, and I said, "Hey, library, any chance you want to be a department of the town, since 99% of your funding comes through the town, and it could combine services, for instance, like the web page, or treasurer services, or, you know, that there would be financial benefits to being a department of the town.
Insurance.
Insurance. It turns out that the library had been connected with the town years back, and after some hullabaloo, and I'm sure we can all imagine hullabaloo occurring in the town of Acton periodically, they felt it was in their best interest to separate themselves and be an autonomous unit,
So
that
they
they were
went to
not.
married filing separately?
Well, I think they actually went ahead and divorced. So I think that it was enough of a hullabaloo with the selectmen at the time not approving of the library as an entity that, you know, they just did not want to risk not being put on the town's warrant to ask for funding as a town department. And they felt that by being a separate private entity. So they are thinking about that ball has been tossed to them to see whether they would entertain the idea of coming back into the fold. And there is discussion on that board about the benefits and the not so great things about what that would mean, and we are simply waiting to hear back from them. Certainly it would not be happening this year, but if they did decide that they were interested in becoming a department of the town, it might be something to look forward to on next June's warrant.
Well, it would be interesting to see if we actually have the amount of memory about whenever that was, that, you know, to be able to predict what the pros and cons might be accurately, and
Yeah,
rather than
because-
having a neutron bomb hit us because, oh, we didn't remember that.
The memory.
Now,
They should be a department.
they're
of the
asking
town
for
anyway.
They should, I think.
$18,291. But if you added in the rental and the heating cost,
Well, I mean, it's
For that
the town's
library.
building.
they'd be up at $40,000.
They act as a department of the town in many ways. They just don't have the benefits of having the treasurer service, or having the insurance coverage, or having the website support. When I went to speak on them, you asked about the memory of those things. There are a couple of members on the library board that were on the library board during the Great Schism, if you will. So
Have they committed some notes to paper so that, you know?
there is rumor of these notes existing, Paul, but you can imagine that, you know, these
I
are
question
volunteers.
that. I question that, because they're incorporated back in the 20s.
They seem to have recollection of having been connected with the town in the last 30 years. So I guess,
I thought so too.
Well, I didn't realize it was even that long ago that this occurred, but that's interesting.
so,
Well, their budget used to be incorporated into the town budget then,
No.
didn't it?
No,
I'll
they had
look
a
back at
separate
my old-
budget, if they've had a donation from the town.
That's right, they've had a
They
donation
have always
from the
had a
town.
donation from the town,
Yes.
they're incorporated, so I don't think there's anything on the board now that was on the board then, because it's too long ago.
I
It
am,
was Olive Treadwell's mother that was on the board then.
and we can all agree that that is certainly long past, but
Okay.
I'm just
That puts
repeating,
it in
Lorraine,
perspective.
what
Well
I
enough.
heard in the conversation with the library board, that there was definite talk of, we've been down this path, it didn't go well, we didn't like being married, and we wanted to separate out again. So,
No, not true.
oh, okay, I am sorry to have misspoken.
When I came to town back in the 40s, my mother, of course, was a school teacher, and the library itself was right on Salmon Road at the very end, before you turn down Baker Lane, the little old school that was right there.
Oh, yeah.
And the rest of them were Linden libraries. Now, my mother, being a school teacher, because they asked her to be librarian, and she had to take boxes of books to Marcia Mee, that's Olive's mother. She had to take them over to Bessie Lewis over on Fox's Ridge, had to take them up onto Acton Ridge. Those were the Linden libraries, and they would have maybe 26 books. And those people in the Acton Ridge area would go to somebody's house and borrow their books. And, you know, it was really obsolete, but no, it's always been a donation.
Apparently, Paul, that conversation needs to happen again, because that was not but the idea of becoming a town department has been presented to the library board. They are still mulling it and deciding which direction they wish to go.
It just seems entirely too hat in hand, oh, I'm a charitable, I mean, they function certainly, from my perspective, as a town department. Perhaps it's the factor that they're attached to the town buildings. If they were a separate building off in town somewhere, there would perhaps be less of a, that kind of an attachment in my mind, at least.
There may have been, at one point, an advantage for them to be a nonprofit 401c or whatever it is. If they had some people that were making donations to the library and taking a tax write-off.
Well, that could be.
And that is kind of an important factor as well. Yeah.
You can't make a donation to a town that's tax deductible?
Well, you see, the librarian was never salaried, never. Not until just in the recent years. The amount of money that was taken for a donation was strictly to buy books.
That's right.
And the articles in your warrant will say to see how much the town will vote to buy books for the Acton Public Library.
Now, is the librarian paid by the town now?
No.
No. They have their own
They're paid
bookkeeper.
out of this donation thing. They set the wrong thing up.
But see, that's where they can save. They're paying almost $1,000 in insurance. They're paying for payroll management, $420 a year. Sure, there's some other things in there. But my only concern is, do they work enough hours that they would qualify for medical benefits?
And when we had talked about that before I went to go speak to them.
Yeah.
And I did make that very clear, that our board was interested in bringing it forward to the town floor to ask the town, does the town wish for the library to become a department of the town, providing the library wanted to, with the very clear understanding that the town of Acton's personnel policy is that if you work 21 and a half hours or more per week, you are considered a full-time employee who receives full benefits. We are not interested in carrying any more employees by bringing them in as a department. And the library is not open if they are open that many hours, which I do not believe that they are, they have 2 or 3 librarians that are sharing that salary. So there was no risk of having them become a town employee. And I think that if the library decided they wanted to become a department, and the people of the town of Acton voted at a town meeting to have them become a department, that the article, if you will, the bylaws for the library could stipulate no employee to exceed X number of hours, so that we didn't have to worry about that.
Right, so it wouldn't be merely convention, there would be some mandate about what's permissible and what's not permissible.
Right, so that because that is a concern. You do not want to be expanding the size of town government by taking on another department.
Would that prejudice unduly, though, the concept of maybe receiving grants or anything like that in the future for some kind of funds, if they were in fact a town department? Would
Not
that
if they were
poison the water?
Well, that's what I said when I went to go speak to them. That was certainly a concern, and I said, well, what could happen is that the Board of Trustees for the library right now could simply reincorporate as Friends of the Library, okay? And at that point, they are now a nonprofit 501(c), Friends of the Library. They can do all of the same fundraising activities that they have been doing. People can give those tax-deductible contributions. And as far as their warrant article each year, it would be set up similar to the rec department, that we are asking for the right to appropriate X number of dollars, but to raise through taxation X minus Y number of dollars. So that you are able to incorporate the fundraising that they do is going to be part of their appropriation, but it's going to reduce the amount that needs to be raised. So that they can still apply for grants, they can still apply for everything through the Friends of the Library only. That is then donating to the town, if you will, money to offset that cost.
The fire department does that now. They have
Okay, I really do expect lucid explanations.
And I hope I have not yet disappointed you, Mr. Pointer.
No, you really haven't for the most part, no.
I
say very few absolute things, so I'll stick with that policy and we'll go from there.
At this point, though, the library is costing the town more money than it shows.
Oh, yeah, because we're paying the heating,
the building,
yeah, we pay the heating bill and the electric bill,
You
yeah.
take in the building space, the heat, you know.
Yep.
And actually, if you redid it, then the town would know how much money you were spending each year.
Well, we don't know because it's all on the same heating system, so, you know, you'd have to just estimate it on the square footage. You know, measure all the buildings and then, you know, take that square footage and divide, you know, into our annual heating bill. Electricity, same thing, you can't tell what they're using in there for electricity. Yeah.
And let's assume the books insulate the walls a little better than they're supposed to.
Yeah, it's a tricky system, but really, we have tossed that ball into the court of the library board, and I don't know, it was kind of a hot potato ball, if you will. It was not expected, and it really did cause kind of a, whoa, where did that come from? But there was definitely positive voices in the group saying, you know, that's really appealing. That, you know, that has a lot of benefits to it. And there were some voices that were very cautious and saying, you know, what does that mean as far as losing your autonomy? I think it was the town of Lebanon that just decided to close their separate library and simply have the townspeople using this elementary school library instead. And so that was of concern. You know, is this simply a step towards the town saying, well, actually, we really did want that space as a town clerk's office, and so people just go to the school. There, you know, so there is caution there. And,
Well, I mean, those kinds of things, if they're legitimate concerns, you know, or ongoing concerns for folks, I mean, could be written into some kind of a charter that, you know, when happens, this is what the agreement is, and, you know, oh, no, you can't do that.
How is that heated? Has that got a separate furnace over
just
there?
as poorly as we are.
We got a furnace up in the ceiling down by the selectman's office that does all the buildings, I think.
No, they have their own vents. I mean,
They have their own furnace in there.
There's a furnace in there?
that only serves the library?
Underneath, ceiling.
Really?
So what about the fuel? Is it a common fuel pool
Yeah.
for the building? So a couple of feed
Yeah,
lines?
it's
run-
one big propane tank out back. And everything comes off of that. This heater in here, the one that's out in the selectman's office, the propane heater's downstairs. Night, Jen.
So certainly, you know, in a very real sense, even if it's a separate heating system, I mean, if the fuel tank is the same, I mean, it's all shared certainly. So, yeah, I mean, this is a conversation that probably should be had every decade or so, just to keep the dust stirred a little bit, you know, and it's quite possibly going to be a different answer each time, too,
As
depends
long
on
as they get good
conditions.
contributions, they probably want to stay the way they are.
Well, I think it also depends on the volunteer boards. It's a lot of demand of time.
A lot of work.
And so I think that there's also, the people on that library board, they've worked really hard for a long time. And there does get to be a certain number of years, and then you're like, wow, I really could use a break. And that if this were a town department, maybe that would alleviate some of the burden of this.
Well,
So that's a part of the conversation too.
It takes special people to do stuff like that, you know, to be attached to something like that. And there's good people there.
Yeah, there is,
For sure.
absolutely.
Well, there's a lot more happening in the library at this time than,
A lot.
you know, there has been for
So you
a
have another,
Yeah.
you
Number of
have
years.
another
it's not a sleepy little library
time
anymore.
bomb,
In the floor.
because the floor loading, you're
Yeah.
getting very close. And
Yeah, that's as bad as perhaps the sand shed, you know, I mean, something,
what the library should
Will happen.
do is move into the old fire station. And then you don't have a floor loading problem.
you're creating a whole lot of
Cement
other
floor.
things
May
too.
I respectfully submit that it's after 8, and that we all get to share one another's company again next Thursday?
Absolutely.
Along those lines, do we want to move the Acton Shapley historical slot? Because I suspect they're going to want to talk next week. I can't really speak for the other couple that didn't show up necessarily, but
No, we
I
can,
suspect they
no,
will.
because we got 11 next week too, so.
Okay,
They had their opportunity to
Cross.
come in and.
all right.
Yeah, they
Oh, are
were,
you Acton Stockley Historical Society?
Well, I say, that's the reason why I came.
oh, I'm sorry.
In case
Well, I gather you were a reluctant,
I'm not prepared, I don't
yeah.
have a,
Okay, well, they're just asking,
I will be happy to answer any questions.
You're asking for the same amount as last year, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, $1,000 last year and $1,000 this year. Okay.
Well, maybe you want to get up and just give a brief recap.
I didn't know you were on the, so I apologize.
The thing here is that I can recall a number of years ago, whether it was the more or less unofficial policy of the Warrant Finance Committee, that if somebody didn't show up, then automatically the recommendation is going to be zero. And the general philosophy was that if they weren't interested in coming in to support their budget, then to heck with them.
Yeah.
I'm interested in supporting the budget, and I made a panic call to the president to find out whether she'd put in a request, and I hadn't heard back. But unfortunately, there was a death in the family last month, and we haven't had any meetings for the last 2 months to discuss, But a few years ago, I attended a meeting of the society, and I noticed that there was no representatives from Acton. And so I kind of felt that seeing it was Acton Shapley Historical Society, that I felt we should have some representation. So I have been going to all the meetings and trying to make sure that Acton was included in any projects that were coming up. I'll give you an example. In the town of Shapley, they had a volunteer go around to every cemetery and locate it with GPS and identify it.
Nice.
I think we've been talking possibly about doing that in Acton for a number of years. I've been pushing to turn around and working with the Conservation Committee, who is our unofficial historical representative, and see if we could turn around and do the same thing. Now, a project that we have been discussing over the winter is some of the members recall years ago when we used to have Acton Pride Day, and we'd have a historical tour. Olive Treadwell would lead it off. We'd hire a bus, and during Pride Day, people look forward to turn around and taking the tour to go around all the historical sites around town. After Olive passed away, I think Lorraine did it a few years, but Lorraine is not up to doing it again. One of the ideas that somebody proposed was of coming up with a brochure, so it would be a self-guided tour. We'd identify in a brochure the historical spots around Acton and Shapley, and tell where it is and a little bit of background and whatnot, then have these brochures available at the town hall, at the library, and at the Historical Society, so that if anybody come in and was interested, asking questions and whatnot, could be given a brochure, and they could go on their own tour. We're, say, in the middle of discussing just how we're going to do it. I've gone to the Conservation Committee and Lorraine with a request to help me identify what they think are the most important ones, and help me develop the background on it. So anything that comes up, I'm trying to work very close with the Conservation Committee, because West Ham and Hannah probably has more of the historical background than almost anybody else in town.
Yeah.
So I don't want to turn around and set something up where we're kind of competing, and then have bad feelings and whatnot. I'm trying to make it sure it's a joint effort. So, but as far as the other expenditure of funds, this past year, if you've gone by, you notice we've had a new sign put up. We've had new exterior lighting. put up. We've had the building painted last fall. One of the big projects we got coming up now is to turn around and try to relocate the bathroom, which is off the kitchen, over to the other end of the building, so that if there's any meetings or anything else using the main room, then the bathroom would be more accessible. So that's one of the big projects we get coming up. We're also working on turning around and putting in more shelving so that we can turn around and have better storage space for the historical papers and artifacts and whatnot. Now, I don't know whether you're aware, last year I was able to present to the Historical Society over 100 years of town reports.
Wow.
We got, I think, a complete set from past, below 1900 right up through the present day.
What was the annual budget in 1900?
It's very interesting. I wish I'd have brought my thing, because I think one of the things that I found way back most interesting was the school reports, and what they did and the number of schools they had and how they handled it.
Oh, when all the one rooms were running, yeah.
And that selectmen's salaries were higher than teacher salaries. That was rather
Well,
humorous.
Springing for a second dipper.
So if anyone has any questions, I'll try to answer them. If I don't have it, I'll get the answers for next week. So,
Sounds
like
good.
I say, I think it's very important. I don't know, I think the historical, part is something that is very important to the town, and we don't realize it until all of a sudden certain elderly people pass away, and then all of a sudden you realize, that question will come up, and then all of a sudden, like you mentioned, and if you're only talking about the newer generations, they don't know a lot of the history and why some of the things came up. So I think it's very important, and I know as long as I'm able, I'm trying to fill that little gap there, and I've come up with a new brochure that I'll be presenting to the board at our next meeting, and have available, and try to get more people maybe involved and joining in support of the society. So.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay.
When my wife and I moved to town in 1994, we went to the Historical Society because we were curious about the schoolhouse that Lorraine was talking about on Baker Street, which now has been torn down as of like a year ago. And we took some pictures of it. We went and measured the floor plan and everything and reconstructed, and it's up on actonmaine.com if anybody wants to see it. Some of the historical materials for that came from the Historical Society. We borrowed them from them and put them up there, and now the building's gone. So if we hadn't done that, you wouldn't even see what's out there on the web right now. So, history is all around us. Get it at your peril.
I'm glad to invite anybody down. This summer, we're going to have a program. We're going to try to have people there a couple times a week, so that people who want to come in, and we've got a lot of genealogical paperwork, whatnot, so people can look up ancestors or people, whatnot, and make the stuff more available, and whatnot. So.
Good, that's great. We are adjourned.